Aloha Cupcakes. You asked for it. Now we're going to do a test of the Tidwell Foxtails made by Mac. I think I got all that. This is the pink handled set, and I'm going to start off using the Mullet because it's the Mullet. So we're going to use some Alpha 6 paint. I am adding hardener and reducer into the mix because we're doing graphics today. This is going to take a little bit of time. Now, the first thing I noticed with this thing once I paletted it up is that I have some very sharp corners coming off of this thing. So when I pull lines like this, it is very sharp around those edges. So I can put some fairly large lines with this brush and then fill in some decent gaps. So crisp edges, I don't have to come back and retouch them. I thought it was kind of a fluke working in that area, but does the same thing with the green. Kind of useful. I think this might be something I can use for more detailed work, something a bit more complex. I just threw together a rat fink design that's a commission for a friend of mine. So I thought this would be an opportunity to test these out. Now this one here, the Scripty, it is a lot closer to, say, a dragonfly with a sharp tip. So it's similar in terms of its texture, its length. It's a little bit shorter, I think it is. And it definitely pulls some very fine lines. So you can start for something very heavy, very thick, and then pull into very sharp, detailed work with this thing. It might be a little bit too big for some of the more finer details that I'm going to do on this one, but if I was going to do something a little more anime with thicker borders around it, this is probably just going to be my go-to detail brush for that. I'm going to try a couple other designs with it, but for right now, it worked out great for this one. Now, this one's called Scrubby. I assume that it is... Actually, I have no idea why they name the things they do. It's like when I name things. Just, we do whatever it is that we do. Oh, look at that. You know? So a little sharper than my first brush that I tried out, the Mullet. But this one gets some very fine details, and I have a feeling I can use this for both shading and texturing. You know what, let's get this white done, and then we will try that. So I added a little bit of blue to it, and imagine that. So this thing works a lot like a very short kind of chisel brush. So I am able to do shading and fading with this. Something I don't typically do just because I've never really... It's a little tougher when you're dealing with this stuff on cars. So it's... But I think, you know, if I'm going to keep doing these things, I can play a little bit more with it. Adding a little reducer with this one, yeah, it definitely does some fading work. I'm going to give it a shot and see if I can do that with some of the black shading as well. So it definitely pulls some very sharp turns, but this... Oh yeah, this is coming out with a clean shadow coming off of here. I like the way that this one's working. So the next one we're going to try out here is the Stubby. Now this thing is super, super short, so I'm assuming that this is for detail purposes. Now we're in that spectrum where I probably need a magnifying glass, but it is able to fill in these gaps pretty well. It's doesn't hold a whole lot of paint, but the paint that it does, I'm able to shape it really well so that I don't have to come back and do multiple lines in the same location. This comes in handy when I'm doing the teeth, because I just basically am making a triangle. It's one side, do one stroke on one side, do another stroke on the other side, and then the tooth is done. So, but I'm going to mess around with this one. I can do a little more of the detail in the shading with this one, so it's a little bit more accurate than the last brush that we used. So yeah, this is definitely a lot more useful than it looks. Now the last one that I'm going to actually use for this one is called Pointy. And this is the detailer that I used for almost all of the finer details. And it pulls some very sharp details, like sharper than my eyesight really allows me to see for. So I was kind of trusting it and then having to go look at it after the fact. You don't understand how bright it is when I'm working with all of the lights and everything just to get these shots. So I should probably be wearing some sort of sunglasses. Just the same, this thing pulls some really great details. There is another brush in this, the pickup line. I didn't use it because it's kind of in between this brush and the Scripty. But I'm going to assume it's oodles of fun as well. So all in all, I'm going to say that the pink foxtails are probably one of the new favorites for me for doing graphics. The design on this one was oodles of fun, and it's totally different from what I normally do, but these brushes most definitely made it a lot easier to do. So highly recommend these. You should definitely check them out. So until next time, stay moist, my friends.